it's Jenna from Scribbling Grace. My goodness, it has been a while since I have done one of these tutorials, and I'm starting off with a bang by dropping my paint. But it's I have not done all that much Bible journaling in the last few months, and so I wanted to do something fairly simple. I hadn't worked in this Bible either since March, which is a long time for me, and um, this Bible, I'm doing all acrylic paints in it. So I'm using my Apple Barrel acrylic paints, and I just wanted to do something simple to get back in the groove. I'm a little out of practice, so I wanted to do a simple, just a basic acrylic background with some lettering. So I'm starting off, I'm using it's a specialty brush from Michael's for years ago. I don't even know what it's called, but it's kind of like a filbert brush, but you could also totally just use a flat paintbrush. And I would just use like a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch flat paintbrush. So that's what I normally use, but I wanted to try something a little bit different. So I have 3 different blue colors and an off-white. It's called antique parchment. Um, I would normally use a normal white, but I couldn't find it, so an off-white works just as well. And I am basically just kind of doing these little patches all around my page. So um, I started off with my lightest blue color. It's kind of more of an aqua. I think it's called Key West. It's again Apple Barrel paints from Walmart. So they're super duper cheap, easy to find. Um, so I started off with that Key West color, and then I always try to start off with my lightest color. So instead of doing, I didn't want to do any like pure white yet. So I started off with that light blue color, and then I start picking up the next darkest color. So that would be what I used is Bimini blue. And then the dark teal color is called Tuscan teal. Um, so basically, I start with my blue color, my lightest color, and then I move on to the next color up. And I don't wash my brush in between changing colors, because that way I have kind of the remnants of the previous color. So it helps those colors to blend in a little bit more, kind of changes the tone a little bit, helps them all to kind of match together. So um, once I had all my blues down, then I decided to fill in the blank spaces with the lighter, more of the white, but I wanted to take off that just pure white color. So I mixed in just a tiny bit of blue here and there, um, just to kind of give a little bit of that blue tint to that white color. So that's what I used to fill in the extra spaces. I wanted to lighten it up a little bit, so I just kind of swiped on some more of that paint. And then I'm also going around the edge on the side on the page next to this one that I'm working on. So that's what I'm doing right now. This was all real time, so I'm trying to give you the best advice, but I did go a little bit fast. But basically, you just get the paint on the page, do a kind of large sections, but you don't want them all to be just square sections. So try to vary up the sizes of them. Um, Maybe do kind of more of an oval shape or a triangle type of shape, but really rough shapes. You want to keep it pretty rough looking. And this is just kind of my base layer, and then I'll add some more little finishing touches, and then I'll add the lettering, because I'm going to be doing my lettering really nice and big. I'm not stressing too much about having this perfect background. In the end, it'll look really cool. And you'll also see that you can see like the brush strokes. Here I felt like that white section was a little bit too vibrant. So I wanted to mute it down a little bit. So I just dipped my pen or my brush in a little bit of water, and just tapped over that paint and filled that in a little bit. And here I am just, going over it, adding a few more strokes where I felt necessary. If I felt like the lines are a little too perfect, I like to go over those and kind of rough them up a little bit. I just feel like it helps blend those colors together. My biggest tip when doing something like this is to use light colors, at least when you're first beginning. Um, doing something with like blues and reds, it's really hard to get those colors to blend together and look really good. But if you keep all blues or all greens, or even just use one color blue and mix in white to get different tones, that's really pretty as well. So here I just took my brush and just tapped it onto my page to create these little brush strokes in little groups. And I did it with my dark blue and my white. And it really just is a fun little touch, isn't it? And now I'm just splattering on some paint with that teal color, trying to incorporate those colors that I used earlier and have those blend pretty well. Yeah, so I'm sorry I'm talking a mile a minute. It's kind of interesting being back on here after so long doing these voiceovers, but I'm glad you're still here and I'm glad you're joining, and I hope that you enjoyed this video too. So by the way, this is the ESV Interleaved Journaling Bible that I'm using. It has the full blank page, so I'm not covering up any scripture. I just love this Bible so much. This is the Bible that I am creating for my son. And so you'll see later, I'm going to add the lettering, and then I'll also write out a prayer for him and date it. And it's just such a fun and special Bible. So I'm using my craft heat gun right now to dry the page really quickly. And another key thing when you're using acrylic paints and you go to the edge of the page, you want to make sure that you lift up your page from the paper underneath it. I always just put normal printer paper underneath the page I'm working on to protect the pages below it. But sometimes when you go over to the edges of the Bible page, it can stick to that piece of paper and it gets pretty tricky to take off without ripping. So before it completely dries, just lift up that paper really, or your Bible page really quickly and put it back down and it's fine. But that's just something to try to keep in mind. So now that my background is done, it took about 10 minutes start to finish for that background. I'm adding my lettering. So I did a little, wrote out with the pencil what I'm going to write down in normal cursive, and now I'm using my Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen to do some brush calligraphy. So I'm writing out Proverbs 8, verse 35, for whoever finds me finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. I love Proverbs 8. There's so much good stuff in it. So I do have tutorials on doing brush calligraphy and brush lettering, as well as faux calligraphy. So I will link those in the description below and be sure to check those out. I'm doing it real time right now so you can see the speed that I go. I do go kind of fast because I've been doing brush calligraphy for a while, so I'm comfortable with it. If you're just starting, I do definitely recommend trying to slow down. It's a lot easier when you're going slower. So basically the concept with brush calligraphy, these brush pens are kind of like a felt tip pen, but they have a flexible tip. So if you don't apply any pressure, you get a really thin line. But if you apply pressure to the tip, you get a thicker line. So as I go up, anytime my pen's going up, I don't apply any pressure to get that nice thin line. And then as my pen is moving in a downward direction, I apply pressure and get a thick downstroke. So the concept is fairly simple, but it does definitely take practice. So again, be sure to check out those tutorials linked in the description below. They're a little bit, go over it in a little bit more detail. I'll also, of course, link all of the supplies that I used to create this page as well, and that'll be in the description below also. So again, down, apply pressure, up, don't apply pressure. And I'm just kind of going over my normal cursive writing to create this brush calligraphy. The spacing of, I wasn't totally in love with my layout here. I should have put a little bit more thought into it, but I don't like how the life is on its own line. I wish I moved that second fines down, but it is what it is. It's still really pretty, and it's not about the art and the perfect lettering. It's about spending time in the Word and what the words mean, what the words I'm writing down. That's the most important part of it. So again, the verse I'm working on, Proverbs 8, verse 35. And really, I was focusing on the section of verse 32 through 36, but I just chose 35 to write down there. So, another thing to keep in mind with lettering is that I very rarely get my lettering exactly how I want it the first time around. So I dried off the lettering and erased the pencil marks, and then I'm going to go back kind of over it to fix up any lines or upstrokes that are too wonky or too thin, and the downstrokes that are not perfect either. So I just kind of go back over, fix up any lines. If there's a downstroke that's a little too thin, I'll just kind of thicken that up. So that's another thing to keep in mind with lettering is you do not have to get it perfect the first go around. You can always try to fix it up later. So don't stress too much about it. And this is a little bit time consuming too, going back over it took a little bit of time, but it was worth it to me to just kind of fix up those lines and get it looking the way I wanted. And now is my another trick of mine is adding this Unibal Signo gel pen. And I'm just going to add a little bit of a highlight to my lettering. So on the right side of all my downstrokes, so all the thick parts of the letter, I'm just adding a little line on the side of the lettering. And that does two things. It helps the lettering to pop from the background because, the lettering can kind of be a little bit harder to read. So it makes it a little bit easier to read. And the second thing is that if I have like a downstroke that got too big or too thick, then I can kind of just go over the black part with my gel pen and it kind of will cover that up. So this gel pen kind of just helps to fix little mistakes too if your lines are a little wonky. So this gel pen's great. So now I'm just adding my prayer. I always pray the verse over my son. And I decided to just keep using this Unibal Signo white gel pen. So it's kind of hard to read, but I kind of like it too. Like the prayer is just in the pages. It's not this huge big thing. I kind of like that. So, and then of course I dated it and I ended up actually dating it wrong, but I got close enough. It was within a few days. So it works to me. And that's it. So this is my favorite part, pulling that piece of printer paper out and seeing that final reveal. I always love that. So that's the page. I hope that you enjoyed this video and you'll give it a shot. Again, be sure to check out all the links in the description below. And you can see with these acrylic paints, there's no bleed through and it's not affecting the other sides of the pages either. So love using acrylic paints in my Bible. So if you haven't used it yet, try it out. All right, that's it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, so all right, much love, many blessings. Bye.